Let's talk about gender and language. We talked about gender before, and we discovered the difference between sex and gender. So we understand when we're talking about this is not because a guy speaks femininely or a girl speaks masculinely. This is that masculine, feminine ideas. So let's look at the difference between masculine and feminine communication. Females tend to communicate about relational issues more, families, friends, etc. It's the idea of talking about the relationship, where men talk about more about recreational topics like sports, technology, entertainment, whatever's going on in the world that they want to talk about, things that they're interested in them. Women tend to make references nearly double to men to senses. They talk about their feelings or their senses and the smells and the touch and the taste and all those things, where men tend to reference negative emotions about 1.7 times more than women do. We don't talk about most of our emotions, but by God, we'll talk about anger. Women tend to use filler words more like 1.6 times more than men, where men tend to swear more than women, 4.5 times more than women. Apparently, talking to some of my high school students, this is probably an old study because they're now saying that women are swearing as much or more than men. Now, let's look at the reason why men and women communicate more. The reason for communication. Women focus on emotions, the relationships, and personal problems. Looking back at what we were talking about, they talk about relationships. They're going to talk about that. That's where they focus on. And men want to make the conversation fun. They become joking and teasing. And this is where we come into problems. A woman comes back and she wants to talk about their friendship or something that's going on with a friend of theirs. And they're talking about, and guys just want to cut up and joke. And then we have a fight. Women will talk just to talk. It's the idea of the communication is the thing. Whereas men want to convey information. They want to communicate to do the thing. So the reality of it is, if you watch a group of men and a group of women separately watching a movie, the women are sitting there having like 3 side conversations going on at once where the guys are like, dude, was that a 68 Mustang? So it's the whole idea of the way what we talk about. One's about a conversation, one's about conveying information. The next one is style and what they do in that. For example, in mixed communication, women tend to ask 3 times as many questions as men do. Guys, you can attest to this, where girls ask a lot of questions. Guys, we just go along blindly and don't want to know. But in the same mixed sex conversations, men interrupt women far more than the inverse. Women tend to proffer statements of support, like the idea of, I know what you mean, or you must have been so mad. And this is that emotive language, and that's that empathic skills that we'll talk about later. But it's the idea of listening to them and helping them and easing them through it, whereas guys want to offer advice. They want to tell you what you need to do. Here's what you need to do, fix it. So the girl comes in and she says, oh, I've had a bad day at work, and I want to talk, and they vent about all this thing, and the guy's like, do I need to go kill your boss? You know, and this is where mansplaining comes from. And if you don't know what mansplaining is, you've probably done it before. All right. So we've got all these things that are feminine or masculine. Many people fall in different categories. I'm definitely a man. However, I have a very feminine style of communication. Now, that being said, let's look at jobs specifically, or occupations. Those are things that are specifically that are men or women. For example, nurses have been traditionally female, but yet male nurses and daycare workers exist, just like high-powered CEOs and attorneys exist in the feminine world. Well, the thing is that when you look at these ideas, what studies have found is that a guy can go into a nursing room and be the traditional guy, masculine communication skill, but after he's been there a while, he becomes more feminine in communications. Well, let's face it, we want a nurse that is actually going to listen to us, to hear what we have to say, and to provide support. Same with the CEOs. Women, females that go into those high-powered, more masculine style things will shift from a feminine style communication to a masculine. And the same thing applies. While yes, we want our CEO to listen to us, we want our CEO to be high, strong, powerful, and is going to interact and tell people what they need to do. And here's how you fix the world, and let's move on, because that's literally what we employ them to do. So what happens is the longer you're in the job, the more likely you are to adjust your communication styles to match those of the job. Now, how do you transcend these boundaries? Well, duh. It's really simple. Pay attention. Wake up. Look at them. Look at how women talk. Try to emulate that. If you're a woman talking to a guy, remember how guys talk and know how to emulate that. So practice, practice, practice. And that's the end of this chapter.